Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the Morning, 15 minutes to change our lives. Good to Silchus Pashi Yisro, continuing on the next part of the Sikha. So, the next part talks about the discussion about the need to learn Chassidus and the arguments against learning Chassidus and how we can learn out from Yanamacha and a lesson of Hashem. Let's try to catch it and get through. Okay, so the next part, it's there's people that say that Chassidus is something hidden, that's extra, that you don't need it. And so the Rebbe says it's not true, but really by Matan Torah, Chassidus was revealed and Nigla was concealed. Like it says that the Nigla Teo, like all the mitzvahs, the Tarach, the 620 mitzvahs, the 613 plus the 7 Rabbanon, are hidden in the Seres Dibros, and you have to go figure them out. So by Matan Torah, the Gilei L'kus, that was straight. That was Chassidus was there, obvious. The Nigla de Torah, the halacha part of it and stuff like that, it had to be brought out. So that was concealed. But we didn't go do that inside. Then we'll go to the next point. So the next point is like this. Hey, there's two general tainus, like complaints, arguments why against learning Chassidus. Two general ones, and they are Aleph, if you really need to learn Chassidus, so why is Chassidus coming out? Why wasn't it always? Why didn't we always have Chassidus? And if for many years, for generation upon generation, we didn't learn Chassidus and we survived, so what do I need to do now? That's what people say. Why have to learn Chassidus? What's so important? You know, the Rambam didn't learn Chassidus. He was fine. Rashi didn't learn Chassidus. What's this? So suddenly, in last generations, Baal Shem Tov comes around, he starts to do Chassidus and Chabad Chassidus. Usually you have to learn it. Tons of people say, you know, and you go to people that don't learn Chassidus, you go in other communities, and that's what they'll say. You know, that they look at Chassidus, and you know, when I was in the Utis Kislev for Ringen with Rai Hello, a lot of guys are there that weren't Lubavitch, and they had similar types of questions. Why is Chassidus so important? Seemingly, if it was that important, it would have been around for a long time ago. And the fact that it wasn't around means it's not that important. As people look, you know, and the Rebbe by Chirus, with one of these Pelish Rebbeim, the Rebbe made the Rebbe say that by the yeshiva they should have a kvius in Chassidus. And he said it should be, you know, people have to be learning Chassidus. People think Chassidus is like this nice thing, whatever. When you have some time, you learn it. It's not so important. But what that's one of the complaints. And the other complaint is based limud zehu kizeh hamuvil the bitul mitzius hagashmis vayesh. The other complaint, it's a very interesting complaint, is that sort of nullifies you and the mitzius of the world. And bittul, you know, so this is very much about bittul. So suddenly you lose everything. You lose things. It's only like, well, where am I? Who am I? What's going on? How's this world? You know, it's like, whatever. It's like in the movie Shpizin, when they bite the guy's esrog, he's in a fight with his wife, and then his two crazy criminal friends have eaten his esrog, and he's about to lose it, and then he goes, I'm an ephes, I'm nobody, I'm bittul, basically. So his two friends that aren't religious say, what do you mean? If you're ayin, if you're ephes, then who am I? So he goes, you're also ephes, you're also nothing. Everyone's nothing. Why? But you realize is because the guy, I guess, you know, it was many years since I watched it, but I think the guy was trying to realizing it's all Eibishter. And so that's what Chassidus does. Suddenly, you know, there's no world, it's like the famous story of the Chassid, that he got stuck in a Mishnah town for Shabbos. And at the end of Shabbos, the Mishnah asked him, how was Shabbos? And he said, it was beautiful. So, and he goes, I'm going to go my way. He goes, thank you very much for the compliment. And he started walking. So the Misnagid, he said, 1 second, Chassid, especially in those days, Chassidim were a lot more sharp. And he said, so he followed him. He said, what do you mean? It was so nice. It doesn't make sense. Chassidish guy in So he said, he goes, the whole day he talked about Hashem. It was beautiful. So this Misnagid felt really good about himself. And he said, okay, fine, you can go, let the Chassid go. Then after a while, he said, 1 second, Chassid, such a compliment to my Hashem, it doesn't make sense. So he came back, he ran after him again, and he said, what do you mean by that? So the Chassid said, he goes, by us, when we drink, we're always talking about ourselves. Why? Because the Eibishter, Hashem, we know exists. The question is, do we exist? By you, you exist. So the whole question is, does Hashem really exist? This is what another complaint about Chassidus. It's all about nobody and nothing, a bittul. So let's see the answers to this. And the answer we'll give, that everyone's going to come, Mr. Hashem will finish it tomorrow, is through understanding Yana Machla in a spiritual sense. Let's see. The answer to these questions are like this. Rambam, it says in the 8 Prakim of Rambam, Shekashem Sheyeshno Machalois L'Refuas Haguf Kach Yeshno Machalois L'Refuas Nefesh. So in the Shnesh Prakim of Rambam, I checked it up. It's very, very interesting. It's like some fundamental ideas the Rambam brings out of it. So he says that just like physically you're sick and you go to a doctor and you have to take care of yourself, so too spiritually, your neshama also has this type of idea that it's like a sickness when you don't take care of it. And he says you get sick, you start to look at the right things wrong and the wrong things right. Meaning, and very simply spiritually, you're like, and then, so a simple example of it emotionally, if we're not in a good place. So what do we say to ourselves? Let me go binge and whatever it is, watch a movie and eat ice cream. That is not good for you in any way. It's not going to help you at all. And this is what I'm saying. When you're unhealthy, so you start to get to the point where you start to do unhealthy things for you, thinking they're healthy. And so too spiritually, you're doing taivas and you're thinking this is a good thing. So he's saying you have to go to the doctor to get help. That's what he says over there. So Mura and Eifoi, Shem Tuf Mitfois, Rabbis, Hakayamis, Bechele, Refus Aguf, Eshel Lulmoy Gabe Bechele, Refus and Nefesh. And Ram says over there, we can understand the way to heal a person spiritually by the way we can heal him physically. Meaning that it's sort of the same structure in a sense. That's what Ram says over there. So Mashmo, Shel Machalo. So what is generally when we say someone gets sick, what's the sickness? What is a sickness? In general, shechaser. Something lacking, something missing in the body. That's generally when we think about sickness, that's what it is. But then there's a sickness which is like in a machal, it's not nothing lacking in the body, but body's not missing something. There's an additional, there's a growth in the person. Seemingly, what's the big deal? You have some more flesh, you have something else growing. What's the big deal? Seemingly, there's nothing missing of what you need. You're missing, and I'm missing, like there's a problem over there. But here, so you have a little more. What's the big deal? Why is that a big problem? But nevertheless, we know very clearly that it's a sickness. And on the contrary, sometimes it's worse having an additional part into your body than lacking something in the body. Actually, it's such a bad sickness. Don't call it the same. That's what we call the Yena Machla. Yena Machla means that sickness. We don't call it by name. This is what I was talking about. Yena Machla. It's called cancer. When you have an extra growth, I'm not a maven in cancer too much, Baruch Hashem, but it's something that's growing extra. You have a tumor, something like this, that's growing. So chelek habasa sheneisaf gerim nezek lamakum aboy hu nimtza v'af alu his pashet yesem. And the problem is that you have this additional growth causes a problem for that area, and it can even worse for the person's body. So we're talking about here, they're saying in general, when you're sick is normally when you have some issue, it's like something lacking. You don't have enough, whatever it is, and normally to be healthy, we take vitamins and things like this to add, so we have enough of the healthy things. But Yana is that we have too much of something, of an extra added growth. And that affects the whole body. Just like this sickness of Yana Machla is different than the general sicknesses. So to the way to heal it, and this is what the Rebbe was talking about in 1952. So you can imagine this is way back in the beginning of the whole discussion of Yana Machla. Just the way to heal it is different than general sicknesses. Colorfuls, mukavos, metusefes, mesuyemes, and the sinus adam. Generally, when you're sick, you give a person additional, vitamin C, whatever it is, you give him something that adds more, gives more strength to the body. In contrast to this type of sickness, we try to destroy the additional thing. Normally you try to add, but in this case, you try to destroy. And that's the way to heal a person in truth. That's the way to do it. And I don't know if much has changed in the last 50 years, whether it's for better or for worse, but the Rebbe is saying this is how we generally treat Yana Machla. You do chemo, which is destroys. Chemo is something that's very powerful and destroys. But the idea is that it destroys this additional thing, which is very different in the way we normally take care of sickness, which is normally we add. We don't destroy. You add more healthy things, or you take antibacterial, whatever it is, to heal. But you're giving your body more fighting tools, whereas Yana Machla, you're trying to destroy. You're hurting the body in a certain sense. Harafua lamachla zur son humtzar rak lifnei mispar deris. And I was saying the figuring out how to deal with it is only very recent. Hadrachim hamepuratais l'shimush b'rafua humtzau meuchi yaser. Adain nemshach hammachkar. And I was saying that the way to deal with this and the idea of how we deal with it is a new thing, and it's very recent in recent generations, and also we're still constantly learning, adding to this. Now you can already think to yourself how we can apply this to the answers of the question we had. Remember, we had the questions that the two main questions in God's Chassidus is if Chassidus is so important, and why did it come just now? Why wasn't it around always? And that's a proof that it wasn't around always. We don't really need to learn it. And the second question is that Chassidus makes us bittul. It's all about nullification. It's you lose yourself. So we're going to now, through understanding the sickness of Yana Machla and the way we treat it. I don't know if we treat it much differently nowadays, but the way we treated back then, we can understand how Chassidus is sort of the same type of thing. It's not 100% the same. That I was going to explain, but we're going to see how it's the same type of idea and how it helps and how we can learn for ourselves why Chassidus is so important and how it can affect us. But we'll leave it for tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll run through it and we'll try to finish it off. Everyone should have an amazing day, and to be continued tomorrow.